Think the season's over and it's too late to plant? It isn't. A fall harvest gives you more than a summer one. Here are 7 vegetables you can sow right now and be cutting for the table until the first hard frost. Some of them won't cost you a penny, and you can grow them out in the garden or in a pot on the windowsill. I saved the best 3 for the end. Stick around. I'm Amos Reel, an Amish farmer from Ohio. Let's begin. We'll start with the easiest of them all, number 7, arugula. And here's the main thing. Fall arugula doesn't turn bitter the way summer arugula does. The leaf is softer and the taste is cleaner. And you'll barely wait at all, a few weeks, and you're already cutting for the table, well ahead of the cold. I sow it thin over loose soil, barely cover it, and keep the top damp until it sprouts. In warm ground, that's what matters most. Want it pushing leaf faster? Give it 1 drink of free compost tea. A handful of compost or young nettle in a bucket of water for a couple of days, and the plant takes right off. And if you've got no garden bed, pour some into a pot on the windowsill this very evening. Arugula isn't fussy. Anybody can manage it. I start my fall with it. And it's not just the taste. There's a good bit of iron in it, and it perks you right up. And a bunch like that at the store costs as much as a whole meal, and it's wilted besides. The big chains are happy to have you buying your greens off the shelf again and again. But you and I know the simpler truth. At home, it's fresher, better tasting, no chemicals on it, and it grows for almost nothing. For seed, I just leave a couple of plants alone. Let them flower and thin pods will set. Once they've dried and browned, right on the stalk, pick them, roll them between your palms, and the seed falls out on its own. Pour that into a jar and you've got enough for every bed to come. No more buying. And from this next one, you'll take 2 harvests of a single sowing. The root and the greens both. And number 6 is the turnip. That's the one. The root goes in the soup and on the plate, and the young tops go in a salad. 2 different dishes off 1 bed. I sow straight into the ground, not deep. And after a couple of weeks, I always thin it so the root has room to fill out. Crowded turnips run to leaf, and the root never forms down below. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks, so there's time to spare before frost. I want a big sweet root, so I drop a handful of wood ash in the hole. Free potassium, and the turnip fills out and sweetens on it. And a light frost only does it good. It sweetens the root. Try one after the first cold snap, and you'll be surprised. The turnip makes its seed the next year. Leave a couple of roots in the ground over winter. In spring, they'll send up a stalk with pods. Dry it out, snap it off, and shake the seed loose, and you are sowing for years after. And those tops are even better for you than the root. Vitamin C and calcium for your bones. So the whole plant goes to use, nothing wasted. Root in the pot, greens in the bowl. Next comes the one that's ready so fast. You can sow it almost right up to the cold weather and still make it. 5th, the radish. Quickest of the lot. And that's what I keep it for. Less than a month from seed to plate, so you'll get it in just in time. I set the seed right where it'll grow, shallow, and I always thin the sprouts a finger apart. I know, they're alive, and it feels like a shame. But skip the thinning and you'll get all tops and no root. That's where nearly everybody trips up. I water it steady, never letting it dry out, or the radish turns bitter and woody. Same as the turnip, it likes a pinch of that ash down the row. costs nothing, and the root comes out firmer and sweeter. In the cool of fall, it's downright mild, without that mean summer bite. And when you pull the first one, firm, pink, still smelling of the earth, you'll understand what it was all for. For seed, leave a couple of plants. They'll send up stalks with pods, and once those dry and brown, roll them in your palms. There's your planting for next time. And here's the funny part. Store radishes are so often bland and watery. They're pulled unripe for looks and shelf life, because that's what suits the stores. But yours, out of the ground, is crisp and juicy, the way nature meant it, and it costs you pennies. On top of that, it's easy on the digestion. You won't find a simpler crop for a beginner anywhere. And this next one isn't just greens. It'll give you more strength and a clearer head, right when fall needs it. Fourth, spinach. And this one is a real fighter against the cold. A light freeze means nothing to it. And here's the interesting part. In the chill, the leaf turns tenderer and sweeter, and it stands green right up to the frosts. I scatter it thick over damp ground, impart shade, and I cut it by the handful, right down at the base. A new wave comes up in the same spot before long. Plant it once and you're cutting all fall. That's the beauty of it. I work in a handful of compost, and the leaf comes in thicker, meatier, not thin and stringy. For seed, let one plant flower and run to seed. Hard little grains will dry along the stem, and you strip the stem by hand straight into a bag. That's the whole harvest. And for what it does for you, spinach has few equals. There's so much iron and folate in it that the fall tiredness backs off. A handful in a soup or an omelette, and dinner's a different thing altogether. And now one trick that works for all 7 at once. When the cold nights start coming, throw an old bed sheet or a light row cover over the bed at night and tuck straw around the roots. It costs pennies or nothing at all, and it pushes your season weeks further along. Under a cover like that, the greens stand fresh when the open bed has already gone black with frost. Off in the day, on at night, and you're picking your own nearly up to the snow. And the pots and boxes, when the cold comes, just carry them under a porch roof or indoors for the night. They'll keep giving you greens even longer. That's what I do myself once the nights turn cold. And here are the best 3, the ones this was all for. The simplest of the lot. They keep your table going longest. They'll grow even in your kitchen, and they don't fear the first frosts. Third, curly kale. Here's what'll amaze you, and I didn't believe it myself at first. After the first frost, the leaf turns sweeter. My grandfather used to pick kale and laugh. The first snow, he'd say, is fertilizer to it. And that's because cold turns the starch into sugar. I plant it in loose soil, in full sun or light shade, and I strip the lower leaves as it grows. One plant gives you greens over and over, not all at once. At the start, I'll feed it that same herb brew, and it throws out a big, thick head of leaves. Take seed off the stalks. It'll send up a flower stem with pods, and once they've dried, snap them off and shake them out. One plant will keep you in seedlings for years, and it has more vitamins in it than half the bottles at the drugstore. K, C, calcium, antioxidants, a handful in the soup or salad, and you're full and going strong half the day. But here's its real strength. Kale feeds you when everything else in the garden has already frozen out. Cover it on a cold night, and you'll be cutting fresh, solid leaf nearly up to the snow, when the beds all around have long since gone black. But up ahead is the one with an even longer run, One sowing for the whole fall, and it nearly seeds itself. Second, leaf lettuce, and one sowing feeds you for months. You pick only the outer leaves and the middle grows back again and again. That's how I do it all fall. A handful at supper, and the bed never empties. I set it shallow in damp, loose soil, and while it's still warm, I keep it shaded past midday, so it doesn't flower too early. Come the fall chill, it's right in its element, tender and a little sweet. I mulch it with grass clippings. The moisture holds steady, and the leaf comes bigger and softer. An ordinary box indoors by a window will do. It grows no worse than in the garden, so you'll have greens on the table year-round. And lettuce isn't only for the taste, it's light, and it helps you sleep easy. For seed, let one plant flower. Fluffy little dandelion heads come up where the blooms were. Once they've dried, shake them over a bowl, and you'll have so much seed you'll be handing some to a neighbor. And the very first, my favorite, the one you'll grow with no seed at all and not a penny spent, today even, right there in your kitchen. And that's the green onion, the one you'll never buy again in your life, honest. You know those white root ends everybody trims off and throws away? Don't. Stand them in a jar of water on the windowsill, and in a week you're cutting fresh green. Ours sits on the windowsill like that all winter long. Change the water every couple of days so it doesn't go bad. And if you want the green thicker, push those same roots into a pot of soil. And that's straight vitamin C on your table. A boost for your immune system when the cold comes. No garden, no seed, no money. An onion on the table year-round, even when there's snow outside. There you have it. 7 vegetables for almost nothing, and your table full right up to the frosts, while everybody else is eating store-bought. So what's growing for fall at your place? Write it in the comments and pass the idea along to somebody who thinks it's already too late. Subscribe and hit like.